Dom Canzone of the Seattle Mariners just walked off the Chicago White Sox, a sweep of the White Sox. We're going to talk about what happened in this series, including some interesting choices in Game 3. We're then going to talk about some potential roster moves the Mariners may need to make. Is Josh Naylor going to have to go on the injured list after he was removed from Game 3? Are there some other moves the Mariners can make on this roster? And then we're going to introduce a new segment, our FanDuel Favorites segment, where we go down and talk about the guys over the next few days for the Mariners that might be a favorite to hit a home run, or in Josh Naylor's case, steal a bag. We're going to talk about all that before we talk about the Tampa Bay Rays series coming up on Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 215 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel. This is the Zach. Shout out to Zach. He is the husband of one of my coworkers, and the Felipe episode of the podcast. It is Felipe's birthday. So happy birthday, Felipe. Joe, how we feeling?
I mean, it wasn't a pretty way to win a ball game. And you mentioned Josh Naylor, whether or not he's going on the injured list. I don't want to spoil anything, but there has been a slight update, but we can save it for the middle topic and whether or not moves need to be made. It's already out there, Colton. It's already out there.
Is it one that I already saw?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, well, anyway, continue.
We'll see it from there. Removed early in this game, Josh Naylor could not steal a base for the game on Sunday. He was at plus 560 to steal a base. I mean, that is, if he had played longer in this game, so going into the game on Sunday, plus 560 on FanDuel for Josh Naylor to steal a bag. I mean, he's setting records that some of the best base stealers and speed demons in the game have not even touched. So that should have been at minus money, if I'm being honest with you. But we do have to talk about Game 1 before we do get to Game 3. An 8-3 victory on Tuesday after an off day for the Mariners. An 8-3 victory over the White Sox. It was 8-1 for a long time, and it was 1-0. And then Brian Wu, he gave him a home run and then just started cruising, mowing down the Chicago White Sox. They did score 2 in the top of the 9th to maybe bring it a little. It doesn't matter. The Mariners offense did plenty in this game. The middle of the order, the deadline acquisitions, they showed up and showed out in Game 1.
Yeah, Josh Naylor hit his first home run at T-Mobile Park, and Eugenio Suarez hit his first home run back in a Mariners uniform. They both drove in 2. Jorge Polanco drove in 2 in this one as well, and Dom Canzone connected on a homer. Just, that is the power of this offense right now, and up and down this lineup, assuming everybody stays healthy, I think it is the most dangerous lineup in all of baseball. I think it's more dangerous than the Yankees. I think it's more dangerous than the Dodgers. I truly do, because up and down this lineup, you have impact guys. Now, of course, the bench is another story altogether, but we don't need to talk about that. You mentioned Brian Wu in this one. He struck out 9, just gave up the 2 hits, 1 earned run. The 2 runs that were scored came off of Jackson Kowar. We know how big he was in Game 3, but a rough spot for him to be in Game 1. Game 2, the Mariners once again put up 8 runs in this one, though this was a little bit closer, a little bit scarier, if you will. Julio hit a big 3-run home run in this one. Josh Naylor with another home run and multiple stolen bags, 2 days in a row. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that prop bet over on FanDuel maybe made a little bit of sense. Or didn't make any sense. You're right, because he stole 2 bags in the first 2 games of this series.
Stealing a base or hitting a home run, those are always going to be plus money. There's never going to be a minus money bet on a player prop like that, but plus 560, I mean, that's decent. That's a good payout for a guy like Naylor who's stealing a ton of bags. This one felt like it was over early. 7 runs scored by the Mariners in the first 2 innings, 5 in the bottom of the second. They chased starter Jonathan Cannon at that point. It felt like this one could have been over at that point, but the Mariners bullpen decided to do Mariners bullpen things. Edward Bizardo, unfortunately, his Linsanity run has, I don't want to say it's come to an end. He was due for a bad outing, right? He was due. It's just one of those situations where relievers are not going to be perfect for an entire season. And not to say that he was up until this point, but he has been better than, I think, relative to expectations, the majority of this season. And this was, unfortunately, a stinker out of Edward Bizardo. But George Kirby, I mean, it wasn't a pretty 6 innings. Struck out 9. Not a pretty 6 innings, though. Danced around a lot of trouble. Did keep the Mariners in this ballgame. It could have been worse. That 3-run inning from Bizardo, that could have maybe tied the game if George was not able to escape some of the jams that he did pitch through. But again, an 8-6 victory. Munoz gets the save. Did give up a home run in the ninth to lead it off. That was scary. Not a pretty save for Munoz either. Like, he had to work for it, and they do secure a series win with a chance to sweep on Sunday.
I will say Munoz came away with 2 walks in that inning. Both of them should have been strikeouts.
Yeah, Cal
but
framing, Munoz missing his spot. I don't know. It's all a bunch of garbage.
It was rough. We were kind of hoping that Cal would get the day off going into Thursday's game. I keep wanting to say Sunday's game because it feels like it should have been a Sunday. But, going into Thursday's game in this one, you had Logan Gilbert on the mound. And again, Logan is just not able to work deep into the game. He had 3 walks in this one with 6 strikeouts. That's going to eat up a lot of your pitch count. And he goes 5 innings. He just gave up the 2 hits and the 1 earned run. But it ended up taxing the bullpen, especially because it went into extra innings. So that was a rough part of this game. But Randy Arozarena tied his career high in home runs with his 2-run home run today in the 3rd. And there wasn't a whole lot more to talk about in this one until extras, Joe.
Yeah, it was not a pretty start from Logan. It looked like there was just some moments where, like, you could see exactly what he was going for. It's just the execution wasn't exactly there. And also the White Sox felt like they were being a little picky on some of the swing and miss. I mean, there was a slider, I don't know who it was to, that Brash threw. It was like just off the inside corner. I felt like it was the perfect pitch for a left-handed batter to swing over the top of, and he took it and he spat on it. And I was in awe that a player would be able to have the patience or just like have the gall to not swing at that pitch. But yeah, the bullpen, I mean, good Lord, doesn't help that it goes to extras, but they use 7 or 8 of the pitchers. I think 7 because Legumina was the last one remaining out there. Is that correct? Yeah, all 7 except for Legumina. And Caleb Ferguson, he's the first out in relief. I mean, it made sense taking him out after only recording 2 outs. He did have some traffic with 2 runners on. Going to Carlos Vargas, I know there's some question marks there. Cuero, the guy who was up to bat, has an OPS over 900 against lefties and OPS against right-handed pitchers of like under 600. The move made sense. It just didn't execute fully, I think, how Dan wanted it to. But that's also part of why I think the bullpen depth is kind of a problem at some points, because it's not necessarily Dan's fault, but also like could he have gone to someone higher of like a higher pecking order than Vargas? I don't know. There's a lot to be said. That continues with Vargas into the next inning. I mean, he gives up a home run. Like, should he have even started that inning? You asked me. Probably not, but like, you don't want to just burn him for an out when you know the bullpen's already kind of taxed from the day before. The way this game ended and how you mentioned like nothing really happened until the extras, the Mariners had their opportunities. And especially against the White Sox, like there's always going to be opportunities. They just couldn't capitalize. Thank God, though, they did not let this one fully slip away.
Josh Naylor had to come out of this game early after we saw him grimace on a few swings at the plate. And come to find out, it's shoulder soreness is kind of what they're listing as, and he's day-to-day. This is something that he dealt with in Arizona that made him miss a few games as well. So something, either about his swing made it crop back up, or someone was mentioning that he had to kind of stretch for a ball that Logan threw. I don't know if that would have done something to his shoulder, but nonetheless, it sounds like it's not a big deal. It's not an oblique, which is good. That's what I was worried about when I first saw it. I just had flashbacks of the Luke Raley injury.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. But that begs the question, Joe, if Naylor has to miss some time, what the hell do you do at first base? Because you cannot run Donovan Solano out there every day. You cannot run Dylan Moore out there every single day. Luke Raley's injured. Rowdy Tellez is gone. Tyler Locklear's in Arizona. Like, what do you do over there at first base?
Can I plead the fifth? Can I not answer? I mean, my joking answer is to have Polo play first base. Have Polo play first base for however many games it takes for Naylor to maybe like I don't know if like a PRP shot would help his shoulder like in the same way like it can for like I don't know exactly what his like day-to-day status will look like. If it is he just needs like 1 or 2 games off and then he can go back out there. Yeah, Polo at first base for 2 games. I'd take that over Solano. I'd take that over Dylan Moore. Just so you can get the bat in the lineup. The issue is if it extends beyond that, which you like you said, he missed like what 4 or 5 games with Arizona at the end of June. Was
Sounds
it
right? Yeah.
something like that? And so that's where you can't hide Polanco over there forever. And if it's a situation maybe like a Miguel Vargas type beat from from spring training where he couldn't swing, just have Naylor play the field and just he can't swing, just maybe he draws a walk. I don't know. It's all silly like answers that I'm giving. The realistic thing is they're going to start Donovan Solano. I think that he is still on this roster for a reason, and it is break in case of emergency, break glass in case of emergency, and this could be an emergency situation where we see Donovan Solano start for 4 or 5 games. I don't know exactly how close Rayleigh is to being back. I want to say he started swing like a hitting program the other day is what Hollander said.
Sure.
Let me go find it. Because what is your solution for the time?
I'm playing first base. I'm going out there. I'm taking over. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's anybody else on this team that can play first base. I know Dom Canzone played it like a few times in the minor leagues, but that's it. He's never played it in the big leagues. I mean, Dylan Moore, Donovan Solano, unfortunately, those are the only guys that make sense. You can't go out there and make a trade. Trade deadline's over. I don't think there's anybody out there on the waiver wire that you could all of a sudden go snatch up. It's just a hard situation for the Mariners to find themselves in until Luke Rayleigh is healthy to be an actual viable first baseman. And keep in mind, Luke hasn't been great this year either. And so I don't know. We just have to hope and pray that this is not as bad as it could have been, and he's able to come back within a couple of games. I think that if the Mariners do want to go out there and give it to Solano, that's fine. But like if he gets on this little run again, I don't care. I don't want to see him get more at bats when Naylor comes back. All right, when Naylor comes back, Solano's relegated to not hitting the baseball again. And I'm very okay with that.
He is put back on the shelf where he belongs. I can't find anything exactly right now. I imagine he's probably I would say Luke Rayleigh's a week away at the earliest from returning from injury would be my best guess. Mm-hmm. And so that does not necessarily bode well for if we're really wanting to get Donovan Solano out of the lineup as soon as possible. If, of course, Naylor's not able to return in the next couple of days.
I think that he wouldn't have to go on to a rehab assignment because it was such a short stint for Luke, which is a good sign. But nonetheless, if he is still a ways out, going to be interesting to see how the Mariners manage that over the next few days. There's one other guy on this roster offensively that should not be. Well, there's plenty of guys offensively that shouldn't be on it. But one guy in particular with a starting catcher knocking on the door down in AAA. Listen, Mitch Garver had a fun little run there for a little bit. All right. He's back to being ass. Get rid of him. Listen, over his last 15 games, he's hitting 196, 246, 321. All right. So his OPS is maybe 600. Maybe. Not even. No, it's like 560.
Yeah.
He struck out 20 times in his last 56 plate appearances. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Let Harry Ford come up, be the backup catcher the rest of the way. It's fine. He doesn't have to play every single day. Let him get a taste of the big leagues. So that way next year, he's like, oh, okay, I've done this. I'm ready to go. I understand. I know what to expect in the big leagues. Call up Harry Ford, DFA Mitch Garver. He's still right-handed. All right. It's still a guy on your bench that you can turn to if Cal needs a day off. And he is going to give you a better chance day in and day out than Mitch Garver does at the plate.
The receiving issues from Garver, it hasn't been great. I mean, some of the blocking today too. Yeah, like Logan Splitter, rough pitch to try and block. But there was some pretty poor efforts, it looked like, out of Garver. Or maybe that's just the catcher that he is. And that's you didn't sign him to be a defensive catcher. You signed him to be a DH and backup catcher, I guess, that can hit. And he's not doing that. The seeing eye single through the left side to start the game from him. I was like, okay, yeah, heck yeah. Maybe we'll see a good Garver game, and then proceeded to look atrocious the rest of the game. It's like, oh, okay. So it's not my eyes deceived me. I have a question for you really quick. On FanDuel before this game, home run prop like odds. Polo was at plus 560 to hit a home run. I think Randy was the second highest or like second best at like plus 310. So if anyone took that, they cashed. Polo at plus 560, Dominic Canzone at plus 630 to hit a home run in this game against the White Sox on I almost said Sunday, on Thursday. IMU. What do you think Mitch Garver's odds were to hit a home run in this game?
I feel like they should have been plus 10,000.
Sure.
But I'm going to say, I mean, if you're saying that Polo was the second highest.
He wasn't the second highest. I was just like, I was listing like Polo. I took down those three as like references. So it's Garver, Polo, Dom, like, you know, in any particular order. What do you think Garver's odds were, knowing Polo was plus 560 and Dom was plus 630?
I'll put him at plus 720.
Would you take him at the same odds as Jorge Polanco to hit a home run at plus 560?
Hell no.
When I saw that he was plus 560, I was like, what are we doing? Like, if there was ever like, you don't have to, like prop bets, you don't take, like this one specifically, you just don't take it. But if there's ever a way to fade a home run prop like that, do not take that one. That is like, that was a literal, that would have been a donation to FanDuel, and which is something you do not want to do, obviously. And remember, if you are taking some bets, sports betting, do it responsibly. Okay, make the game a little bit more interesting, make it a little bit more fun, but please do it responsibly. That is, you know, one of the more important factors that FanDuel does try to promote on their site is, you know, if you have an issue, they do have the number available, but also do it responsibly, because it can get real fun if you hit a hot streak. I've been there when I was living in California. Boy, there were some days where I was oh man, it hits different sometimes. But again, please do it responsibly.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good reminder there. Well done, Joe. Let's talk about FanDuel a little bit in our FanDuel favorites. I want to talk, Joe, about the American League West. Okay. Now you have it set up here. I'm assuming the parentheses is what it was.
It was when we talked about it last week. Yes.
So as of right now, to win the American League West, the Astros are still the favorites, which is, I don't know. I don't think I agree with that. The Astros are at minus 120. They were at minus 145 last we talked. So it's getting a little bit worse for them. Mm-hmm. For the Mariners, they're at plus 130. They were at plus 170. The Mariners are 1.5 games back of the Houston Astros. And they still have a few more games against some subpar opponents. They have the Rays, the Mariners do, the Rays, then they have the Orioles, and then it gets tough. And then you have to face, you know, the Mets, the Phillies. But if you could take advantage of it over these next few games, I really do think this team could be in first place by the time they touch down in New York.
I will say odds have shifted since I wrote this down earlier, probably because they won today. It's now minus 115 for the Astros, so moving closer to plus money, and plus 120 for the Mariners. So a very small shift in odds from minus 120 to minus 115 and plus 130 to plus 120 respectively. But I mean, that's taking into account that the Mariners have obviously continued to win. They're only a game and a half back now of the Astros. And a nice thing about when you play on an off day for everyone else and you win, you gain a half game on everybody for the free. And the fact that they did end up winning was massive, not only on the Astros, but you do separate yourself another one from the Rangers, from the Guardians, from the Red Sox, from the Astros. Not necessarily separating yourself, but you give yourself a larger cushion or more wiggle room, essentially, to play around with. And the soft part of this schedule, I think, is going exactly how you would have wanted it to, aside from the road trip. But like specifically at home, you're finding that the Mariners are setting themselves up to be in a good spot where if they do hit a tougher stretch, like you mentioned, the Mets and Philadelphia, that you aren't as worried about maybe like having to win those series. Of course you want to. Every single series you play, you want to win. You want to win every single game that you can. And I'll tell you this, if there was an option for winning out on FanDuel, that would not be one of my favorites. That's plus $1 billion. You don't take it because that is not smart practice, if you will. But I do want to say one thing that I found interesting when looking at some of like the like what was available on FanDuel for this game. Logan Gilbert first pitch at 97 miles per hour or higher. It was like special Logan Gilbert props. I saw it for Paul Skeens as well, where they have a 4 mile per hour spread where it's 97 or higher, 96 to 96.9, 95 to 95.9, and then 94.9 or belower. Belower? Jesus.
Belower.
Belower. Belower. I hardly know her. Whoa, wait a minute. Logan's first pitch today was 95.4 miles per hour. So on FanDuel, it was plus 165 odds to like that first pitch to come in at 95, between 95 and 95.9. His last start against the Rangers, where first pitch to Josh Smith was exactly 97 miles an hour, and that was at plus 480 odds. So some interesting plus money there to take. If you look at just overall like first pitch strike or first pitch like pitch values, that is a pretty risky thing to do. But heading into the first game of the Rays series, I don't want to get too far on myself, but Luis Castillo, if he has that specific thing, I don't know if they do it for everybody, but if Luis Castillo is like, if there's plus money on somewhere between 92 and 92.9 or 93 to 93.9, that's something that I would feel very comfortable doing, because he is a guy that has to kind of ramp up. He doesn't start throwing at his peak at like 95 or like 96 these days. He has to ramp up, and if it's a first pitch fastball, I would expect Luis to probably be between 93 and 93.9 in that first game against the Rays. First pitch of the entire game, because it's a home game for the Mariners, is how that'll work. But do you have anything else you'd like to touch on before moving to Tampa Bay?
No, actually, I think we can move right into Tampa Bay here. On the mound for Tampa Bay is Nate Rasmussen. Obviously, Drew Rasmussen, not Nate Rasmussen.
Shout out Nate, though. I mean,
never mind.
There's one, but there's also Prospect Insider.
Oh, Nate. Yeah, our GOAT. Yes. Drew Rasmussen has a 2.81 ERA on the year. He's 9-5 with 93 strikeouts. Up against Luis Castillo, like you mentioned, he's 8-6 with a 3.22 with 115 strikeouts. I will say that if you guys are perusing FanDuel tomorrow and you're like, I might want to bet on a player to hit a home run off of Luis Castillo, you're probably going to want to bet on Josh Lowe. He is hitting 308 with a homer off of Luis Castillo. So keep that in the back of your mind. Nick Fortes has a home run off of him apparently as well. I know, right? And I was shocked. And then Yandy Diaz in 12 at-bats has a homer off of Luis Castillo versus Rasmussen. The Mariners really haven't seen him that much. The person that's seen him the most is Eugenio Suarez, and he's batting 143. Nobody in this Mariners lineup has homered off of Drew Rasmussen, so maybe don't take the over on any of those there. But yeah, overall, I think that this is a game that it's going to be a tough one for the Mariners. Rasmussen is quite good, but with the way they've been playing, you get at home Luis Castillo. I feel good about this one.
I like the Rays spread at plus 1.5. And what that means is the Rays win the game, you outright win the bet. But also if they lose by just one, so they can't lose by more than two, by more than one. If they lose by one, you cash that bet as well. And I think this is a 1-run win by the Mariners. The Mariners added to their 1-run win total today with another one, 4-3, to now 24-15 on the year in 1-run games. The 39 games played, the most in the American League. The Rays have played 36 games in 1-run games. They're 16-20. I like the chances of this being a 1-run game with the pitching being as good as it is, specifically Luis at home, a 2.40 ERA at home compared to his ERA on the road. Yes, his last start didn't go super well, but I do like the chances of this being a close one, especially also Drew Rasmussen, you mentioned, pitching well this year. Limited opportunities in T-Mobile. He's pitched 3 total games, 2 of which were starts. He's not a guy that goes deep into games. He's only pitched, I think his max this season has been 6 innings, but you'll usually find him around 5 to 6 innings. 8 1/3 in his career at T-Mobile, a 1.04 ERA with 11 strikeouts. Like, the offense, both teams, I don't think are going to be scoring a ton of offense. And also in August and the second half specifically, the Rays offense has been pretty bad. In the second half, a 661 OPS in 19 games, a 613 OPS as a team for the Rays in August. The offense has not been good, and I think that's kind of part of the reason why they've fallen down the mountain of the wild card standings. I mean, they're 4.5 back of the Yankees, who are 1.5 back of the Mariners. So the Mariners have a 6-game lead on the Rays, and this is the first time the Mariners are playing the Rays this season. They haven't ventured out to, was it Steinbrenner Field is where they're technically
Yep.
playing. So I it'll be an interesting game, I think, especially with how the offense looked today. I don't expect a ton of offensive output with the pitching matchup specifically, but you never know. It's one of those situations where they could rise to the occasion facing a pitcher like Drew Rasmussen. Maybe they see something this game compared to previous iterations. I don't know. There's Baseball's a weird sport. Anything can happen. And with Luis Castillo in the mound in game one, I think that's a must-win game, especially with him at home. Get him back on the right track. You have Logan Evans on the mound in game two against Joe Boyle. Not
to
Joe
be confused
Yeah,
with Joe Doyle.
don't do it. Joe Boyle, he was an Athletic last year. I don't know what trade. What's trade?
Jeffrey Springs, maybe?
Jeffrey Springs. That is exactly what it is. Boyle has a 2.30 ERA and 27 and a third innings pitched for the Rays so far in 2025. In AAA, he had a 1.85 ERA over 73 innings. When they acquired him for Jeffrey Springs, this was the most obvious, oh, he's going to be another demon for 3 to 4 years, that if he stays healthy will be very good. Also could be a guy that maybe like Drew Rasmussen doesn't stay healthy all the time. Like, it's the Rays have so many arms that just appear out of nowhere, but you can tell when they've been acquired. It feels like when they got Joe Boyle, it's like, oh, nice, good for them. They got another guy. And with Logan Evans opposite him, we're probably witnessing Logan Evans' last start, assuming that Bryce Miller has another good rehab start tonight for Tacoma.
Yeah, that's actually something we didn't mention. I feel like we should touch on really quick. It sounds like
right
Bryce is going to come back after game two, after his second rehab start. I was kind of hoping he'd get at least 3, kind of build himself up to, maybe 80, 85 pitches or something like that. But as long as his second rehab start goes well, it sounds like that he will be back for the next turn of the rotation. And he lines up pretty well here with Logan Evans. So yeah, you're probably right. This is probably Logan's last start of the year for the Mariners, assuming everything goes right. Obviously, it hardly ever does. But Joe Boyle on the year, a 2.3 ERA with 26 strikeouts. Evans, a 4.3 ERA with 53 strikeouts. Neither team has really seen either pitcher. The Mariners have Josh Naylor specifically has seen him a whole 3 times and is 0 for 3. But mind you, JP Crawford is 1 for 1. So look for JP to get back going in this game here. But yeah, it's just a series that you definitely need to win, in my opinion, versus the Tampa Bay Rays. And it kind of feels like a trap series a little bit because their pitching staff is pretty dang good. Joe Boyle, I mean, nothing to sneeze at. Not a whole lot of major league experience, but nonetheless, still a good pitcher. But going into game 3 on Sunday, August 10th, also August 9th, is Ichiro Hall of Fame number retirement game.
Yeah.
We won't be there, but we hope you guys enjoy said game. Have a good time. On Sunday, Brian Wu takes him out, Mr. 6 innings himself, with a 3.02 ERA and 136 strikeouts, versus newly acquired Adrian Hauser, who the Tampa Bay Rays got back when they traded Taj Bradley. Oh, was it Curtis Mead?
Yeah,
Curtis Mead was in that one.
Yeah.
Bradley was in the Griffin Jacks trade.
Yes.
Which is right. We might have to see Griffin Jacks in this one as well. I hope we take him deep. Anyway,
the trade
Adrian
deadline,
Hauser,
like the spirits of the trade deadline are present, very present and strong in this series.
The Mariners have seen Hauser quite a bit. And I think that if you're on FanDuel and you're looking for somebody to hit a home run of this one, Eugenio Suarez is in 19 at-bats is hitting .316 with 2 home runs off of Adrian Hauser. So feeling pretty good about that one. The only other person in the Mariners lineup with a home run is Mitch Garver. Really fitting after how we just talked about him in the last segment. But yeah, this is again, Hauser's good. He has a 2.54 ERA on the year with 50 strikeouts.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough series for the Mariners in terms of the pitching they're going to be facing. But with how good this Mariners lineup is, albeit you may be missing Josh Naylor in this one, with how good this Mariners lineup is post-trade deadline, I think they can handle it. I really do. Now, did we see that in game 3 of the White Sox series? No, we did not. But you're going to have games like that. You're going to have games where you're not scoring 8 every single night. But this Mariners offense, especially with how good Julio's going right now, if Josh Naylor is okay, how good he's been going, how good Randy's been going, Polo, etc. It's a very, very deep lineup. Against Brian Wu, the Rays really haven't seen him that many times. Just looks like one game. Yandy and Josh Lowe are both hitting 500 and 2 at-bats versus Brian Wu, and that's it. That's all there is to talk about. It's going to kind of be a battle of the pitching staffs, I think. I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of runs scored in this series, which kind of bodes well for the Mariners here at T-Mobile Park.
I think the polar opposites of park factor will come into play in this series, and then when you face them again in September at the beginning of the month, when you do go down to a AAA field in Florida in September. Like, the weather is going to kind of impact it. The park factors are going to play a big part there. On the season, the Mariners have a WRC plus of 109. On the season, the White Sox, the Rays are at a 99. So basically league average. I'd imagine that's probably come down since the All-Star break because they have been pretty poor offensively since then. You mentioned the pitching being like pretty even. The Mariners and the Rays kind of are, they're very similar. Bullpen ERA for the Mariners a 3.68. The Rays a 3.69.
Nice.
The Mariners, I know,
Damn,
right?
she fine.
Yeah, she is. 3.92 ERA starter ERA for the Mariners. The Rays a 3.96. And overall, just team ERA in general, you can imagine they're not far apart. A 3.83 ERA for the Mariners, a 3.86 for the Rays. The big difference, at least on paper, is the offense. If the Mariners offense does come out swinging like we know that they are capable of, that they've shown the ability to do so, you should be able to win this series. But like you mentioned, a trap series against the Rays, I mean, I've heard that one before. And you have 3 pretty tough pitching matchups. I mean, Hauser feels like on paper the easier one of all 3, the easiest. But he's been really good this year. Kind of a resurgent year for him. I mean, prior to this season, he had never posted an ERA below 3. His best was a 3.22 in 142 innings in 2021 with Milwaukee. Several years removed from that. I mean, he had a 5.84 last year. And then he's just a free agent, gets picked up by the White Sox in the middle of the season, and then he's shipped out for Curtis Mead. Like, the trade deadline spirits, they are strong. And I hope that they're stronger for the Mariners in this one with Gino, Caleb Ferguson, some clutch innings. And if Naylor is able to return in the series, maybe he steals another bag.
I want to give you your flowers, Joe, because you called it prior to this series that Josh Naylor was going to go off on the Chicago White Sox. And in the first 2 games, I was like, oh, by golly. Joe was right. Did you hear
the White Sox
the
radio
Chicago call? Like,
yes.
He hates the White Sox.
Yes. Oh,
it
it's
was
so good.
Funny. So well done. Well done. Good job to you. Really, really proud of you today. The Mariners have only lost 1 game since the trade deadline, and they probably shouldn't have lost it to begin with. The Mariners should be kind of undefeated since the trade deadline, but with the role that this team is on right now, it's never been a better time to be a Mariners fan. It's been a lot of fun to watch, so we appreciate you guys watching along with us, and we appreciate you guys watching this episode of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by FanDuel, and go Mariners.